Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Grandmaster Knockout. In the left corner, the one, the only, Nepo. And his opponent, ladies and gentlemen, Niemann. Tonight, one board, 64 squares, playing white, Nepo, playing black, Niemann. Gentlemen, let the battle begin. Nepo, pawn to e4. Niemann, pawn to a5. Nepo, knight to f3. Niemann, knight to c6. Nepo, bishop to b5. Niemann, pawn to a6. Nepo, bishop to a4. Niemann, knight to f6. Nepo, castles kingside. Niemann, bishop to e7. Nepo, rook to e1. Niemann, pawn to b5. Nepo, bishop to b3. Niemann, castles kingside. Nepo, pawn to a4. Niemann, pawn to b4. Nepo, pawn to d4. Niemann, pawn to d6. Nepo, pawn takes a5. Niemann, knight takes a5. Nepo, knight takes a5. Niemann, pawn takes a5. Nepo, queen takes d8. Niemann, rook takes d8. Nepo, knight to d2. Niemann, bishop to c5. Nepo, knight to f3. Niemann, knight to g4. Nepo, bishop to e3. Niemann, bishop takes a 3. Nepo, pawn takes a 3. Niemann, rook to d6. Nepo, bishop to d5. Niemann, pawn to c6. Nepo, bishop to b3. Niemann, bishop to e6. Nepo, rook to add 1. Niemann, rook to add 8. Nepo, rook takes d6. Niemann, rook takes d6. Nepo, bishop takes a 6. Niemann, pawn takes a 6. Nepo, king to f1. Niemann, knight to f6. Nepo, king to e2. Niemann, knight takes a 4. Nepo, rook to d1. Niemann, rook to d5. Nepo, rook takes d5. Niemann, pawn takes d5. Nepo, knight takes a 5. Niemann, pawn to c5. Nepo, king to f3. Niemann, king to f8. Nepo, knight to c6. Niemann, king to e8. Nepo, knight to b8. Niemann, king to d8. Nepo, knight takes a 6. Niemann, king to c8. Nepo, king to f4. Niemann, king to b7. Nepo, king to a5. Niemann, king takes a 6. Nepo, king takes d5. Niemann, knight to f6, check. Nepo, king takes c5. Niemann, knight to g4. Nepo, pawn to e4. Niemann, knight takes h2. Nepo, king takes b4. Niemann, knight to g4. Nepo, king to c5. Niemann, pawn to h5. Nepo, king to d4. Niemann, king to a5. Nepo, pawn to b3. Niemann, knight to f6. Nepo, pawn to f5. Niemann, knight to g8. Nepo, pawn to a6. Niemann, pawn to h4. Nepo, king to a4. Niemann, knight to e7. Nepo, king to f4. Niemann, king to b6. Nepo, king to g5. Niemann, king to c6. Nepo, pawn to a5. Niemann, king to d6. Nepo, pawn to a6. Niemann, knight to c8. Nepo, king takes h4. Niemann, king takes a6. Nepo, king to g5. Niemann, king to f7. Nepo, king to f5. Niemann, knight to a7. Nepo, pawn to g4. Niemann, pawn to g6, check. Nepo, king to a4. Nepo lands the knockout. Niemann has no answer. If you loved this fight, smash that like button and subscribe. More legendary battles are coming your way. See you in the next one.